I sort of wrestled of what video should be my first video for Friday of 2024, and I just decided to go with, we're going to talk about the manga I read in 2023 to wrap up 2023 and just move on with all the exciting things that are going to be happening this year. Hello friends, happy Friday. So very excited that you're here. So very excited for this video. I read so many great things in the month of December 2023. In fact, I am shocked that I read, I think it was 40 volumes or just 40 titles last month. I did not, I guess 40 volumes to be more accurate, but I didn't expect to read that much. The 25 days of shoujo manga was happening. If you're curious about what that is, definitely be sure to check out this video that had the calendar, which wasn't super accurate because I changed things throughout the month, but that gives a rough idea of what videos that I posted last month. I had a great time. I hope you guys did too. Very much looking forward to the next 25 days of shoujo manga later in 2024. But with everything that was happening last month, I just really didn't expect to read much, but apparently the holidays equals extra reading because, like I said, I read roughly 40 manga. Well, that does include manhwa and that does include a webcomic, but I read 40 different volumes and it's just mind-blowing to me because I didn't really expect to read much at all. My goal was to try and read 30 volumes because in Shae at Shae Geeks Out and on her Discord, there were a few people who were doing like a low-key, unofficial 30 and 30 last month. And I'm like, okay, I would love to meet that. And I did and surpassed that. So it just felt very surprising to me. But overall, it was a really good month of reading. I read so many different things and some of them were influences. There were a few things I didn't super love. But when it comes to the digital manga, I read 5 different digital titles. And it stinks. I really don't want to start out with this one because it was one that I dropped. I gave it 1 star. I was very crushed about it. I don't know the full title because it's really small, but I Want to Escape Princess Lessons. This got an anime announcement and I was very curious about it and I saw the cover art and I was like, let's go ahead and try this out. And so I bought this right at the end of November because I told myself I wasn't going to buy any manga in December. I don't know why I was lying to myself because I bought quite a bit of manga in December, but I tried this. It's a digital only manga, I think, from J Novel Club, and I do not recommend it. And I hate starting this video out with something that I would not recommend. I don't want to vent too much about it, but the thing was, I really enjoyed the first chapter. It was very funny. I love the heroine. Here she is engaged to this man. She doesn't want to be engaged to him because she hates the princess lessons that she has endured for years. And they're really strict, like the person teaching her is very strict, very mean, and she just wants to be done with it. The prince that she's engaged to more or less says, you know, I'm with somebody else and our engagement is going to be no. And she celebrates. She's so incredibly happy. And I was like, you go girl, you know, standing up for yourself, getting out of this situation. Mainly for the rest of the manga volume, he keeps rescuing her because she leaves the castle. She's super happy. The prince actually brings her back and he tells her something and she's like, I'm stuck in this engagement that I don't want to be in. It was funny at first, the way that he brought her back. She didn't want to come back, but then it wasn't funny anymore because he took away her favorite maid, who was like her head maid, because he's like, well, I don't want you to come up with some kind of strategy to be free from me and the castle. No, she keeps trying to escape. He puts bars on the window. He locks her in her room. Anytime she tries to escape, he always brings her back. Like he refuses to let her go. And I'm like, okay, this isn't funny anymore. And I'm like, you cannot woo me over with like, it was supposed to be funny because she's like, okay, I'm going to try this kind of shenanigan to escape. She tries the shenanigan, it fails, and he rescues her. And then like to excuse his rescuing, it gives like this really close up on his handsome face, I guess, to try and, you know, bring over the reader like he has the best of intentions. He really, really loves her. I'm like, I don't care how much you love this girl. This girl doesn't want to be with you. She's super unhappy. And there's a point where he even knows and acknowledges that she is hating where she's at in her life. But he's like, I refuse to let her go. Bro, you're done. I'm done with you. Then by the end of the volume, she's suddenly in love with him. I'm like, girl, you have been trying to leave the entire volume. How can we even justify this? Because not even that, he's not letting her leave. He's forcing her to stay. Like I said, he put bars in the window, locked her in her room. And then she discovers that there's like a secret room, so to speak. And she's like, oh, there's somewhere I can be free. I don't have to see him. It'd be great. No, he moves into this room and he wants to be lovey-dovey with her. And she's not comfortable with that. But he's like, you need to be. And then other people, other female characters are telling her, well, of course he's going to get mad if you're not going to give yourself physically to him. What is going on? So do not be deceived by this beautiful cover. I do not recommend it. I even went back after I read it and I was like, maybe I'm being a little too much here. And no, it was just as triggering the first time that just this woman wants to leave because she's unhappy. And this man's trying to say, well, I have the best of intentions, but I'm going to keep you here. But again, it's with the best intentions. And I love you so much that I just can't let you go. That's not healthy. That's not romantic. It wasn't healthy. And I cannot wrap my mind how this young woman fell in love with him by the end. Rant over. I don't recommend it. The cover's beautiful. Was highly disappointed that I did not love that. We'll just stop there with that because the next volume that I read was In the Name of the Mermaid Princess. I got an early copy and it releases in February and it was amazing. It was so good. It well exceeded any expectations I had. I did not read these in the same time frame, but I was like, okay, I've been trying to limit the manga that I'm buying next year and really tone it back because I spent way too much money. Like, I'm not going to give out those stats of how much money I spent last year, but I was horrified and I'm like, we've got to get this down by like double the amount down kind of thing. So I saw that it was on NetGalley. I'm like, I'm going to check it out. And because I had wanted to get it physically, I should say, and I loved it so much. Our heroine is amazing. The male lead is amazing. And it was surprisingly very emotional and heartfelt because it is a romance, but I was very touched by this princess who is a mermaid, but where she's a citizen, she's the princess of this country, but in this country, they do not acknowledge any other species that is not human as a citizen. So she has been taking this medication that's supposed to turn her into a human because she is engaged to the prince of a neighboring country, and her father's like, you have to marry this man, you have to be human, we're getting rid of the mermaid side of you. But she finds out through a series of events, seeing that there's so many people in her kingdom that she's the only mermaid, but I'm blanking on what kind of other people there are. We'll say like a werewolf, but definitely not as dangerous. But you have fox-like people and you have just different magical abilities. And some of these people really love their abilities. Their children, like the mother, there was one case, the mother was human, or she had like animal-like qualities, but her children were taken from her specifically because they were not human. It was very heartbreaking, and she just has a huge heart for her people. And so I feel like try to think of what the right word is, the way her people have been treated as non-citizens because of how they were born and discriminated. That's what I'm looking for. And how they were discriminated because of her father was very, very moving, very upsetting. I wouldn't say it was necessarily triggering, but it really was hard to see in those moments. And the ending left on a huge cliffhanger. I do not like the father whatsoever, but I was really surprised that characters I didn't like at the beginning that I actually really liked by the end, and was like, wow, it was very, very good. 5 out of 5 stars, would highly recommend. Definitely going to be picking up this series next year. I'm very much looking forward to rereading it. Look, I've only talked about 2 manga volumes. So I feel like my throat's already given out, or my voice, but we're going to keep going. We're going to keep going. The next digital thing that I read was I read more chapters of the Remarried Empress. I read chapters 150 to 154. I'm just going to say that Rashta is more unhinged with every single chapter. And I was a little bit surprised. These chapters have been a little bit steamy. They've been a little bit steamy. Nothing inappropriate or anything, but I was like just quite different than the earlier chapters that we've had with certain characters. So that has been interesting, but I've been very happy with developments, not involving Rashta, but our queen Navier. I've been very happy with those developments, and like, Navier, keep coming around, girl. Keep coming around. Rashta, that girl just, I don't even know what to say. I was like, she's so unhinged. And the Emperor, oh my gosh. That's all I'm going to say. It keeps getting better and better. I really, really love it. The next manga volume I read was Hes Expecting Volume 1. This was really good. I blame Twitter for this pickup because it was also on NetGalley, and Twitter was so excited for the license announcement. And I was like, this seems really different. And so I decided to pick it up, and I'm so glad that I did. A lot of the reviews were saying, before you start it, like, don't think about how this man can't technically have a baby. And that was like addressed actually in like the first 5 pages. So I didn't see there was like no, I can't get over this fact, so therefore I cannot enjoy or keep reading this. I didn't feel that way personally. It was very insightful, I feel like, because I don't really know how pregnant women are viewed in Japan, but I feel like there was a quote by our main guy who says that if a woman gets pregnant, then it's a law to celebrate that pregnancy. But it's like, if a man gets pregnant, it's a laughing stock. shock. I sort of feel like some of the things that were shown were really showing how pregnant women are viewed in Japan, because like one girl gets pregnant and it was like their life was sort of over because they would have to leave their job, they were going to be married, and they'd be a stay-home wife. And it was like there was a really negative mindset there. And I was just really surprised by that. And there were definitely a few other things that were just like, wow, this is surprisingly very insightful and very thoughtful, but it does have a fictional story to it. I really enjoyed it. Seeing this man pregnant was not something I thought I would ever love, but I did. And I actually would like to check out the second volume because it was just a really fun story and very entertaining. I thought about it a lot. So definitely looking forward to the next volume. And the last thing that I read digitally was, oh my gosh, I almost wanted to say this was my favorite read of like December. That is Morana and Oz. I binge read chapters 1 through 59 on Webtoons. I found out that this was getting physically printed because it was this one and I Love You, YOO, is also getting physically printed. Between this one, Morana and Oz, and I decided to recheck out Age Matters because all three of them are getting published by Webtoons Unscrolled. This was the one that hooked me with the preview, and oh my gosh, my heart. It's like Howl's Moving Castle meets Delinquent Vampires with like a little bit more romance. It is so good. It is so, so good. I loved it. I don't even know how to recommend this. I'm like, what can I do to like encourage people to go check it out? Because somebody said like, if you like Ghibli, you're gonna probably love this. And I think that's very true. I felt it just had a lot of Howl's Moving Castle vibes to me. So that's why I say it's Howl's Moving Castle with Delinquent Vampires. And the romance is so good. It's very slow burn, but it's very cute. There's cat shenanigans and it has been so enjoyable. I love Morgana. She is an amazing heroine. It's been really hard seeing the things that she was enduring in the later chapters because there's a great mystery and she's trying to find out things, and it's very much like an enemies to lovers kind of romance. And you know, her seeing maybe the vampires really aren't that bad like we think that they are. There's definitely a third party that is interfering, and Oz is amazing. I was like, he is the perfect delinquent hero. I'm like, this man can do no wrong. I really loved him, and just the cat shenanigans that involved him were perfection. I highly recommend it. I was so crestfallen and so bummed when I caught up because I didn't realize the series was still ongoing, and it's one I'm definitely physically picking up ASAP. I loved it. This is one I will come back and reread physically when it's in my hands. It's so very good. Highly recommend it. Now let's go ahead and jump into the physical stuff. I have 2 stacks over here. Hopefully I can do all of these manga justice. I know that this was a great way to start off December 2023, and that was Honey Lemon Soda Volume 4. This is my favorite volume yet. Uka has grown so much as a heroine, and seeing her shine in this volume was absolute perfection. I feel like the romance is even moving forward, and it was just, it was so beautiful. I feel like Uka is really coming to acknowledge things about herself, about things that she wants and desires, and that she's not pushing those things off anymore. I'm very eager for the next volume. This series has been such a gem. It was one of my favorite volumes of last year. Like for volume 1, you'll see more of that when I talk about what was my favorite book of 2023 when I do my reading bracket. Volume 1 was definitely on that bracket. Volume 4, I would have actually put on there just because I've really loved every single volume. I think there was only like one volume I didn't super love, but this one adored. Very good. Highly recommend checking out this series. Very thankful that Yen Press is printing it. This was a manga that was originally on my TBR, or like I was eyeing it, and I was like, no, and then I was like, you know what, we're gonna get it because it sounds really good, and that's My Lovesick Life as a 90s Otaku. I did do a review of this earlier of last month, and it was just so amazing. If you're curious about more of my thoughts, please go check that out. I think this is just such a fun one. I think I gushed about this also in another Top 5 Wednesday. I think it was the Christmas Book Exchange. It is so wonderful. Highly recommend it. Please go check out that review or that first impression if you're curious what I thought about this one. This I gave a low rating on Goodreads, but let me tell you why. And the name of this title is When I Became a Commoner, They Broke Off Our Engagement. Now, if you follow me on Goodreads, you know that I gave this 3 stars, which is pretty low for me, but I'm not dropping this, okay? First, let me say why I gave it low stars. Okay, when I see this cover, it looks super cute. When I read the blurb, it sounded really good. I was like, this is gonna be a light fluffy with a little bit of angst. Girl, I was wrong. I was so naive. I was so naive. It has some fluff in there, okay? But the ending of this broke my heart, and I literally felt from halfway to the end, I was holding my breath. I was literally having to remind myself, girl, you need to breathe right now, because there's so much anticipation, and you know what's riding on this girl, the decisions that she's made, and you're afraid, is it gonna backfire? What if the other shoe falls? It gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. And so there was this building up. And when the other shoe fell, it was absolutely crushing, heartbreaking, and I felt completely devastated at the end, but it was so very good. And so I gave it 3 stars because it didn't meet my expectations of being fluff, but I really want to keep reading. This is one that deeply surprised me. I wouldn't say it's a new favorite, but it was one that even before I got to the end, I'm like, I will read the next volume. I will see what's going to happen to our main girl, because when she has those fluffy moments, they were everything. It was so beautiful. But then just when the other things happen, it was not so beautiful, and it really ripped at my heart. It was hard, but it was a really good shoujo. I hope more people pick it up because I definitely feel like it's really underrated. The art is very, very beautiful, and I feel like it has some interesting ideas when it comes to some of the story world, and the fairies are really fun, though they are not your typical happy fairies I feel like we see in majority of shoujo manga, for at least from my experience, because some people didn't like this because these fairies are very, I don't know if mischievous is the right word, but basically these two, not this fairy specifically, but they were there. They switch her birth, or her as a baby, with a different baby. So she was supposed to be a commoner, but now she's being raised as a noble, while the girl that was supposed to be raised as a noble is being raised as a commoner. And these fairies thought that would be really funny, and it's causing a lot of problems later on because that truth's gonna come out. And that's all I'll say because I don't want to give any spoilers or anything, but it was very, very good. Highly recommended. I wish it would have been more fluffy. I don't expect any fluff next volume. I'm gonna brace my heart for that, and I think the rating will be higher next volume because I'm coming in like I was heartbroken at the end of this one, so I need to prepare for more heartbreak, but I hope so many good things are in store for her because she definitely deserves it. And I'm just, her family was not cool. Her family was not cool, so please check it out. I would love to gush about this manga with other people. The next thing I read was Saint No, I'm Just a Passing Beast Tamer Volume 2. I was looking at this and I can't really remember much about it. I feel really bad. I know I didn't love it as much as I did Volume 1, mainly because I feel like the direction or the shift of this series has changed. We're after the fluff. Our main girl loves the fluff. That's what she wants. And I felt like that shift, like we didn't have that this volume as much. Like we still have the fluff, and I really enjoyed the end of this volume. But everything up before that, it just wasn't my favorite. So I want to give this volume one more try because I definitely don't think it was bad. But I missed the fluff. I missed the fluff. That's what I want. That's what I came for. So it didn't quite meet those expectations, but it wasn't bad. But it doesn't leave me overly excited for the next volume. I mean, I love how Fluff basically brought somebody back to life because she's like, I love infinite fluff. I will never, never not love it. So that was pretty fun. And when we do get those moments, it was really great. But I really hope next volume that we actually do get more of that fluff because that's what I want. I also read Mr. Villain's Day Off Volume 2. This was so much fun. It has a cat. There's more cuteness and I just loved it. I just loved it. I'm very excited for the anime. I think it's already aired at the time that I'm recording this video. I hope that I checked out the first episode, deeply loved it. This one it definitely still has our villain here, but it has a magical girl like character. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to go into details about that, but I really love this character and I have seen them in the trailer for the anime, so I am very much looking forward to that because I do feel like that was something that definitely made me want to keep reading. I want to read any more anyway because it's just a fun story. If you like Play It Cool guys, you're probably going to like this. If you like pandas, you'll probably also like this because the panda love is very much real, but I liked how it had a Santa Claus moment, Christmas moment, because I didn't expect that, and I read this right before Christmas, well, a few weeks or whatever before Christmas, so it felt very timely, and it was just a sweet read. Very much looking forward to Volume 3, seeing where it goes. The art continues to be great. He looks so dashing here. I love the different poses that he has and just the art that we have of him. It's just fun. It's just a fun slice of life. The chapters don't really connect with one another, so you can just read it, have a good time, and it'll just be fun. This volume was one of my favorite reads last month, and that's Kaiju number 8, Volume 8. This is my favorite volume of this series thus far. I felt so many emotions. Another series that I forget to breathe when I'm reading, but there was such an intensity because it focused a lot on Ichikawa and just my heart. He's one of my favorite characters in this series. Then the ending was everything. I absolutely loved it. Like after I read this, I'm like, we must pre-order Volume 9 ASAP. And that's exactly what I did because I just super, super enjoyed it. This definitely continues to be one of my favorite ongoing shonen manga. I really loved it. And I'm glad that we saw some of Kafka. And there was something that happened in the beginning, but I don't remember what it was. Pretty much Ichikawa takes up so much of this volume. And I will say, I feel a little bit bad because he was on the previous cover. Here he is. He was on the previous volume's cover, and I liked him, but he wasn't hugely sticking out in my mind. I feel really bad saying that. He reminded me so much of Tanaka from Haikyuu, and really loved the backstory that we got with him and just how he was there for Ichikawa. My favorite friendship is definitely Ichikawa and Kafka, but I will say his friendship with Ichikawa is my second favorite. I really enjoyed this volume. It was so good. I read it and then reread it again because it was everything. I super loved it. Cannot wait for the next volume, especially since Ichikawa is on there. It is going to be so good. I have zero doubts. Next up is It Takes Two Tomorrow 2, Volume 2, and I feel bad because I read this after I read Kaiju number 8, and I didn't feel like it was quite as exciting because it didn't have, all of that high-stake action, but it was a really cute read, and I did enjoy it. I have actually flipped through it since I read it the first time, and I did like it more the second time, especially near the ending. Not the cliffhanger of an ending, but I really did enjoy the ending and how it's finally looked like things are moving forward. I think what I really enjoy about this series is that it's so relatable as a married couple. I mean, I know they're not married, but the thing like the being a blanket hogger was just 100% relatable so much because I am pretty much a blanket hogger. Me and my husband have to have 2 different blankets because I will take his and he won't have one. And so I thought it was funny that like they actually have to go get a new blanket because he keeps taking it. I love how we did get to see some of the family of, or at least Rio's family in this one, and how we got a little bit more of their backstory, how they fell in love and how they started dating. It is a very cute series. I think it's different because they're living together. They're not quite a married couple, but again, I'm hoping that it's working its way towards that. Of course, I had to read this series right away, and that is A Sign of Affection, Volume 7. I read it once, and then literally an hour later, I reread it again at a much slower pace. This volume was everything. Each volume that we get is everything. It's so very good. I love it so much, and I definitely teared up, especially when it gets closer to the end and how Yuki just shares her heart. And it's like, girl, you deserve nothing but a gigantic hug. What's his name? Oishi. I have such mixed feelings. I don't hate his guts. Like, apparently a lot of the shoujo community does. And I'm like, I don't feel like he's hateable. Do I like his actions? No. Do I like the things his friends were telling him this volume? Definitely not. Am I worried about the future? A little bit, yeah, because I feel like he is definitely going to take advantage of any kind of moment that he can get. I feel like he would be a good guy if he just wouldn't listen to his friends. Not that his friends are giving him bad advice, because I feel like it's like realistic for that kind of situation, but I didn't like it. It's bad advice when it comes to our main couple here. So I'm curious to see where it goes. Continue to deeply love it. I will say one of my favorite panels is like when we're having this imaginative kind of arc. They're talking about being princes, and look at how Itsumi slays. Like, he just looks so cool, especially this one. This is my favorite panel. I love his smirk. He's just so cool. I'm like, he fits the Prince Charming there, and I just need Oishi to leave. I just need him to get off the page. And again, the end was so beautiful. I can't wait to see where it goes. I need volume 8 ASAP because this was another fantastic volume. I'm not going to talk much about this series because I also did a video review on it, but that is Seventh Time Loop. The villainess enjoys a carefree life married to her worst enemy. And can I just pause and say, I talked about in my video review, I said, this gives me villainous vibes, but it's not really a villainous manga. I didn't make the connection at that time until, we'll say 4 days later, when I was like, oh, the subtitle is The Villainess Enjoys. I'm like, villainous. I'm like, I did not connect those thoughts when I filmed that video. I really love this. I read volumes 1 through 4. I reviewed volumes 1 through 3. And then I had told myself I had to finish all my physical TBR in order to buy volume 4. But then I had my annual doctor's appointment in the bookstores like 5 minutes away. My husband said I could go buy some stuff. So you knew I had to go buy this, and it was so good. I was really surprised by how much I loved this series. This was my favorite read of this month because I could not stop thinking about it. When I finished reading volumes 1 through 3, I literally didn't want to read anything else. I was just stuck on this. I'm like, I'm sad that I have to move on to read other things because I just wanted more of this series. I read it back in, I think it was January, but I didn't super love volume 1. And even this time, I didn't super love volume 1. I enjoyed it, but volume 2, volume 3 sold me. me. I felt so many emotions, definitely cried in one of them. It was everything. Volume 4 was so good. It's just like Rishi continues to have like all these surprises. This is another anime. I feel like I know there's so many good anime coming out, but I honestly feel like this is my most anticipated anime after reading the manga. I'm okay watching the anime and reading ahead because of the anime, like getting spoilers. Like I'm okay with that. I'm like, I want more. If you want to hear more in-depth thoughts about the series, definitely check out that video review. It is one I would highly recommend. I do feel it's underrated. I think it's because people are like, it has villainous in the subtitles, so like, oh, it's another villainous manga. But I feel like it's very different and it's not your typical villainous isekai. It's so good. It's so good. Highly recommend. I can't wait for Volume 5. I can't wait for the anime. It's such a phenomenal series. I feel a little nervous to talk about this one, and that is Last Game Volume 3. I liked it, but I hate this love triangle aspect that's trying to come up in this series. Like, please don't. Please don't. You don't have a chance. Get out. I really don't like the trope, okay? Where like you have the heroine, she likes one guy, we'll say the hero, and the heroine though is talking to, we'll say guy A, and she's talking to guy A is like, you know, she's really cute, I'm gonna start having feelings for her because she's being nice to me. Like, do not do this. Do not do this. Do not mistake her kindness for her liking you, okay? Just please don't. Like, I don't like that, and I feel like that was a trope in this, so my enjoyment was not as high as it was for volumes 1 and 2, which I deeply enjoyed. This series was like in a must pre-order kind of thing or list, and after reading volume 3, I did pre-order volume 4, but I'm just like, please get rid of the love triangle. I mean, there's no hope. I mean, our main guy, he's got our girl, but I feel like this other character is not connecting the dots. And I'm like, if you interfere with this ship, I don't know. I really disliked it a lot. Even though I feel like there was more romance this volume and characters realizing, like especially our girl, that she's realizing her feelings, it made me that more frustrated. It made me that more frustrated. So we'll see. I'm going to keep my pre-order for volume 4 because I do want to see where the series goes. I really love the characters a lot, and so I was very disappointed that it seemed like it was throwing a love triangle in because it just doesn't need it. It doesn't need it, but you know, our leads are pretty interesting. They probably need that nudge, but I just didn't want it to be in the form of a love triangle. It was not a bad volume. I gave it 4 stars, but I didn't like that trope entering. I just did not. Thankfully with this one, there was no kind of love triangle because my heart couldn't have handled it, and that is Gold Kingdom and Water Kingdom. It's funny enough, I have shared about the pre-order story of me trying to get this volume and just things going crazy, and then me also getting it from my Secret Santa. It was really great because I was actually able to return my pre-order and just keep the one that my Secret Santa gave me. I have read this volume 2 or 3 times. I read it the first time and I feel bad because I actually was going to do a video review and I filmed it, but I did not like it because I felt like I was being more critical of this volume, and I think it's just because it was being marketed as a fantasy romance, and I didn't feel like it was overtly romantic. Not in a bad way. I feel like the politic aspect was actually more of a focus, and I really enjoyed that. But I was a little bit bummed originally at first that it wasn't as romantic as I thought it was. But then when I came back and I reread the copy my Secret Santa gave me, I enjoyed it a lot more because I knew how it was going to end. I really love these two together. It was very sweet. You can really feel the stakes of just everything that's happening around these two, and there is a little bit of humor woven in through everything. So I was really glad that I read this and really glad that my Secret Santa gifted it to me because it's definitely even more special, and I definitely look forward to coming back and rereading it again. Next up is a volume that I sort of low-key had on the chopping block, and I'll explain why in just a minute, but that is I'm Giving the Disgraced Noble Lady I Rescued a Crash Course in Naughtiness Volume 2. Now, I love Volume 1. I reviewed it on this channel. Very good. And Volume 2, I deeply loved. And the only reason it was on the chopping block is because I didn't know, is this series going to get or be repetitive with the same kind of antics over and over? That was not the case. In fact, I feel like the antics were even increased because now Alan's sister is involved and there's like a battle a battle of naughtiness, who can make Charlotte happier, which was so much fun to see. But there was some really heartfelt moments during that time that just, it broke my heart. Charlotte deserves all the happiness, and I talked about that in my, top 10 shoujo characters I would invite over on Christmas Day, or I want to hang out with on Christmas Day, and I want Charlotte Charlotte to be happy, and I really love how Alan is doing his best to make her happy. How there was some romance in this volume, I'm like, we got some acknowledgement of the feelings, like, yes. This volume ended on a cliffhanger. I've already made a list of when the next volumes are going to be releasing because it's one I definitely want to keep reading. I really, really enjoyed this volume a lot. It was just so much fun, and just, it's a really good time. I really hope people will check it out, like the manga, not just the anime, though everybody I know who has seen the anime has deeply enjoyed it, and I'm like, yay! I'm just gonna be chilling with the manga, I guess, for a little bit because I don't want the anime to spoil me of things that are coming up, because that's just how much I've been enjoying this manga. It's so wonderful. I can't wait for the next volume. And I will say, typically I don't read, I would say typically, I feel like often I don't always read like the little short stories that they have, the bonus ones, but I have really enjoyed the two that we've gotten in this volume and in the first volume. It was just really fun and really engaging, and that's just the whole series. It's wonderful. Please go check it out. I love all the characters, and we definitely had some shenanigans happening with the male, well, this is Alan's sister, but also the male cat. I love the way that she talks. She's so cute. I can't wait to see what happens next in the next volume. Definitely going to be picking up and reading and just hopefully really enjoying as well. Oh my gosh, this is another series that's trying to introduce the love triangle, and I'm like, please stop, because out of any series that I thought, well, I mean, with Last Game, I thought that one wouldn't have it either, but that is A Condition Called Love, Volume 5. It was a great volume. I did not love it as much just because this other character, get out the picture. It just irks me. Like, obviously, we know these two are endgame. They are amazing. The ending of this volume was amazing. It was everything. I really, really loved it, but just this other character, like, I'm like, get out. Like, I don't want you here. I don't like what you're saying. I get your point, but I just don't want you here. Like, let our couple grow on their own. And they're definitely doing that. But this other character is just trying, he's just trying to cause problems, okay? And I just did not like it, but I love these two, and they're definitely trying to say each other's name. And it was so cute. I love that trope. I love that. I love seeing that in manga, just the love triangle thing. Get out. Let's just sweep that away. The ending, just looking at it, was so good. It was everything, and definitely can't wait for the next volume, hoping that love triangle just gets out of here and doesn't make an occurrence again. Oh man, I'm so excited for this one. That's Imakoi Volume 8. Yagyu and Satomi are back. I know a lot of people love Miria, I think it's her name, and Noda, and they really rubbed off on me in this volume because they are not my favorite, especially Noda, but I did like him by the end of his arc, I guess you would say. But Satomi and Yagyu, they're back, and I love them. They are my favorite, one of my favorite shoujo couples, and was so glad they were back. I mean, I was sort of like, oh my gosh, what is going on? But it was so good. Very, very much enjoyed it, even if the first half of the manga was not my favorite, just because it wasn't featuring, or I should say, highlighting, spotlighting Yagyu and Satomi. I gave this volume 5 stars. Can't believe the next volume is the last one. I'm not ready. I'm gonna miss them. I'm gonna miss them. I've reread this manga so much because I've just really enjoyed it. I've read like the second half of this volume probably like 4 times. I just couldn't get enough of it. It was so good. I'm gonna really miss it when next volume comes out and it being the last one. This series is definitely on the chopping block, and that's My Poison Princess Is Still Cute, Volume 1. I thought this sounded really cute, and for the most part it was, but there's a character I really, really dislike. He is the problem, where he's trying to bring unnecessary fan service into this manga, and I feel like I shouldn't let one character determine my enjoyment of a single volume, but I just disliked him so much that I was like, I hate when you're on page. I don't want to see you on page. He is one of the butlers, so thankfully he's not on page often, but do not try and corrupt our main hero because he is so precious and he loves this poison princess so very much. He loves her and he cares for her, and I love when we have their interactions. It's very, very sweet and very precious, and very much enjoyed it because the premise is this girl here is a poison princess. Like, she is sort of like a demon kind, and so she can emit poisons that will kill other people, but this guy here is a human and he can't die, more or less. Like, if somebody were to take him out, as long as his soul enters into some clothes or something that he can return back to his body, he will stay immortal, which works out because, you know, her being the poison princess, and in the beginning she just kept accidentally killing him because she was just so embarrassed when and flustered when he is declaring his love for her, because they have an arranged marriage. Their two countries are like like, we want peace in the land, so we're just gonna have these two marry off. And so I really love that part of the story a lot. It is very cute, and it was exactly what I was hoping it would be. But when that butler's on stage, or on page, I mean not stage, but when he's on there, it's weird to me and it's awkward because I'm like, you're not the one that's engaged to the princess, but you are pushing your fan servicey ideas onto the prince of what you want her to wear. And especially when it's like unnecessary things, like, what was it, bikini armor? And shout out to our hero who's like, why would somebody wear that? That's not even gonna protect you. Thank you for stating the obvious. This butler guy, he's trying to push that on the prince of what the butler wants to see our princess wear. And I just thought that was really weird and sort of uncomfortable. The ending I did like because there was a really sweet romantic moment. I feel on the fence if I'm gonna keep going because I don't know. If that butler's there, I feel like I'm not going to enjoy it, and that this series would be better for somebody else that's like, oh, whatever, this is just a character, a side character, I don't really care. But me, it was just distracting when he's there, and I just felt rage towards this man. Otherwise, I overall, for the most part, liked it. To be determined, though, if I will read volume 2. Now, this was a series I deeply loved, and I apologize to everyone who voted for this manga and that I didn't do the video review, but please know I love this so very much, and that is Fiancé Chosen by the Ring, volumes 1 through 5. I read volumes 1 and 3 back in January or February when I had COVID, and finally read some new content for volumes 4 and 5. It was so good. I loved it just as much as I did the very first time. It was everything. It's so, I don't know, I feel like it's like the perfect fantasy fluffy shoujo romance. It's very, very much fluff, though the action scenes are very good, and I like when we have them because they're just so vivid when I'm reading. It was awesome. Like, there's a fight scene or battle scene in volume 4, I think it is, that I loved so much. It was one of my favorites, and volume 5 was really, really good. I'm so thankful to be caught up on this series. I don't plan to do a video review on it just yet because somebody did nominate this during the 25 days of shoujo manga for me to read next year or read later this year in my Lara's reading and review shoujo spree. So hopefully it wins because I would love for the opportunity to gush about this manga. I read it and then I reread my favorite parts again because it just made me so happy, and I love these two. I cannot wait to see where this series goes. I believe we are caught up with Japan, so the releases are going to be like really slow, and I'm just like, no, but it will be worth it. It will be worth it because these two are everything. Seeing them grow closer together has been everything. I'm enjoying this new arc that started in, I think it was the end of volume 4 or the beginning of volume 5. I'm really, really enjoying it. I was a little hesitant at first because I'm like, whoa, this is different, and it's not purely just romantic fluff, but it's so very good. These two are very much an established couple, and through a crazy situation where the Ring chooses our main girl, but they are perfect for one another. Again, I just deeply apologize to everybody who is really looking forward to like a full review on this series. I hope that it will win during my next JoJo event and that I can do a full official review of this series of these characters because I love them. It's so good. Highly, highly recommend. This manga I did do a review for, and I was really excited because it was on my calendar, and then, you know, my calendar just went sort of haywire near the end, but that is The Secret of Friendship, which is a standalone. It is, or like a self-contained one-shot kind of thing. It was so wonderful. I read this with my friend Reversea. We like chatted about it for like an hour after we both read it because she surprisingly like did a buddy read with me, and it was really, really cool. Like I said, I did do a review. So if you're curious about more of my thoughts, please go check it out. This is a very deep, very heartfelt story about friendship. I think it was one of the best review to wrap up for my videos for this year when it comes to video reviews. I was supposed to say looking for the next volume, but there is no other next volume, but I have reread a little bit of this one because I'm like, I love the characters, I love the theme, love the story and the message. Very, very good. Highly recommend this one. Oh my goodness. This manga was everything I was hoping it would be, and that's Past the Monster Meet Me Lady, Volume 1. I love this. I almost said this was my favorite read of this month. December, I mean. The only reason I didn't is because I felt I had more of Seventh Time Loop and the feeling was really real to not to read anything else. But this one, I reread it like 3 times. I loved it. And we're talking about like sit down, read every bubble, every page, not just, you know, skim through, read your favorite parts and then keep going. No, reread it. It was amazing. It was amazing. This is a series that's really underrated, but I really hope people will check it out because it's so much fun. It's so much fun. Like, she loves monster meat, but she has like this horrible nickname, and people are like, monster meat. Like, no, like that's a bad thing, but she loves it. And she meets the Mad Duke, or the Blood Mad Duke, I think is his nickname. And he slays these monsters, and she, through an interesting means, they start to talk, and it's obvious that they hit it off right away. Like, I don't think either one of them realized it was love at first sight, but their passions very much united them, because even though he likes monster meat, her passion for it is what ropes him in, so to speak. And he's like, well, you know, I'll go take these monsters out for them if you cook for me. And she is all for it. I love the development so much. It did feel a little bit fast paced, but I was 100% not against it. The only thing that I still gave this manga 5 stars, the only thing that was sort of odd is like with the art, when he slays a monster in front of her and she gets blood sprays on her face, her hair, and her dress. You can tell that yes, she did, but then there's like one page where she's completely pristine. And then the next moment she has a little bit of blood on her, but then the next page she'll have like a whole bunch. And then by the time she changes her dress to a new one, there's so much blood on the dress that the bag that it's in, or the cloth that it's in, that the blood's dripping from the cloth. And I'm like, I didn't quite get that impression that there was that much blood on her, just because of the way different pages were reflecting how much blood was on her. So there were a few times I felt confused there personally, but it did not stop my love for this volume. I already pre-ordered volume 2 because I loved it so much. The characters, I love how they just have this strong passion over monster meat and how happy it makes both of them. The romance was so beautiful, and I love them. I love them. Please go read this. There was somebody else that said that, yeah, that they read it and then the next day they reread it again. I'm like, yes, yes, yes. It's a fun shoujo romance fantasy story. I love it. I love it so much. Can't recommend it enough. Very much looking forward to the next volume, and the art is great despite my confusion that I have. I can't wait. I can't wait. This is definitely, volume 2 is one of my most anticipated reads for, I think it comes out in February for my birthday. I'm like, yes, let it arrive early, because that is one I'm going to be reading ASAP. I talked about this in my Yona unboxing video and going through the art book, the mini one, not the big one that just came out for the exhibit that's going on in Japan, not that one. But I finally read volumes 39 and 40, Yona of the Dawn, with my friend Sarah. We got together. Thank you, Sarah, for being so patient if you're watching this video. It was so good. I was telling her that volume 39 just reaffirmed my love for Yona of the Dawn. Not saying I fell out of love with Yona of the Dawn, not saying that, but it's been very politically heavy. I struggle with that. I really struggle with that. When it got to this volume, I was really nervous. I had no memory of anything, even though I reread volume 38 beforehand. I was like, you know what, we're just gonna keep going. And I loved every moment. I really loved volume 39, and specifically my love felt reborn, so to speak, because the interactions between Suwon, Hawk, and Yona. Suwon, he's finally getting it. He's finally getting it. I'm really, really happy, because I loved Suwon in the beginning, and then there was like, I forget what volume it was, but I was like, Suwon, you're making my blood boil, and I'm enraged at your character right now, but he is redeeming himself, and I have been very happy for that. Especially there was a point in volume 40, like, yes, it's about time, bro. It's about time. Yona continues to be amazing. It was definitely hard seeing some things with Hawk. I felt like there was like a shift in this volume. I was telling Sarah, I said, you know, the first half was really intense, very good volume, but just very, very intense. And then the last quarter, it was like fun shenanigans. I felt like I had emotional whiplash, and I read this volume and I was just emotionally worn out. I couldn't write a review. I was like, I feel like I just went through so many different things, and I didn't know originally at first what I was feeling, except I knew that I really loved it. But I was just so happy to see everyone smiling for a change, everyone reunited. I didn't know how desperately I needed that, because I've seen a few spoilers online, and just my heart needed some happiness. And I hope good things are in store. I hope good things are in store. I just actually saw a tweet this morning, wasn't a spoiler. Thank you to everybody who has been keeping the spoilers locked, and they're warning people, because I haven't seen anything with the latest chapter. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you to every person who's being awesome and not spoiling it for other people. But this one girl that I mentioned, she's like, I really don't feel like Yona of the Dawn's coming quite to an end. She's like, you know, many creators are like, oh, we're gonna announce we're almost there. She's like, I don't feel we're almost there. I'm like, I hope that's the case. I ain't ready for Yona to end, but I do want the happiness to come. I want the sorrow to end, happiness to come. So highly recommend both of these, 5 stars each, and very appreciative and excited that I was able to buddy read this with my friend Sarah. It was amazing. It was so nice to read these with her and help somebody to share in the pain, the angst, the excitement, and all those things. Very, very good. Happy that we both read them. Oh my gosh, this was amazing. This was amazing. This was I don't even know, I was gonna say hidden gem, but it is Dark Moon, the Blood Altar Volume 1. This is a manhwa. I picked this up specifically for the werewolves. I came for the werewolves, but I stayed for the vampires. There was not that many werewolves that were actually in this, but this doesn't have anything groundbreaking. I don't know if it would be full of cliches or anything, but it was so good. I don't even know how to finish my previous sentence. I was just surprised by how much I love this. This is not something that was on my radar. I don't typically read things with vampires. I do have Bloody Sweet right here, which I super enjoy. I've read that. Very, very amazing. But I feel like when it comes to romantic stories where the main heroine's falling head over heels for the vampire, though she does not know that she is, I typically deviate towards that kind of story, but this one, I loved it so very much. This is another one that surprised me and wanted to say it was a favorite read because I was shocked. I thought I would like it, but I did not expect to love it. Where I read it and then I was skimming through it a few different times. I kept thinking about it. I really like all of the guy characters, but this guy right here, he is amazing. I am hardcore shipping him with our main girl, and I love Suha. Is that how you say her name? I loved her. She is an amazing heroine. Somebody was like, she's a damsel in distress because she's all powerful kind of thing, but yet why are these guys having to rescue her? I did not feel that way at all. Girl can defend herself, but sometimes you just need help. That does not make somebody a damsel in distress. So I really, really loved it. I was like, that was a cliffhanger at the end. I don't plan to go on Webtoons to read ahead. I like how with the werewolves, there's some mystery there. There's obviously something that's going on. We don't fully know what it is yet, but I'm here for it. I'm here for that romance. I'm hoping that romance that ship sails because it was amazing. So I would highly recommend this if you want something that's more on the fluffy side when it comes to the romance. You see that it's slow building. You want a large cast of, I guess, male characters. I don't feel like this is a reverse harem because she's definitely not interested romantically in any of the other characters except for, I personally feel, except for this guy here. I could be looking into that though. And I don't feel like they have any romantic feelings towards her. Obviously, there's something that's pulling them to her where they want to be there for her, but I don't feel like it's in a romantic sense. I don't know. That's part of the mystery. I'm curious what it is that she has, why these vampires are pulled to her, and why they are attracted to her, maybe not in a romantic sense, but still like, I want to be around this girl. So there's good amount of questions that I asked, but it wasn't a turn away from where I, disliked the story. I deeply enjoyed it so much. I can't wait for the next volume. Like, I never expected to be coming on here and be like, I love this. It has vampires. I never expected that because I'm just not a paranormal reader, and this is a paranormal romance, and I'm loving it. I'm loving it so much, and I'm here for it, and I can't wait to see what happens next. This was a random pickup when I went to Books A Million after my doctor's appointment. I picked this up, like I said on Instagram. I did not wake up and choose violence because I chose this over How I Met My Soulmate because I couldn't get into it. And I don't know if it was the timing. I'm really not feeling any love triangles, and it definitely felt like it had that. So I feel that some of the influence, but this manga, nobody come for me. It beat out me choosing How I Met My Soulmate, and that is The Cat on the Hero's Lap. The cat manga sold me, guys. It brought me over, and I feel a little bit bad, but this was so funny. I didn't quite enjoy it as much as I thought I would. I loved it in store, and I still really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. It was a fun pickup. I don't know if I'd pick up volume 2. It'd be like one of those, you know what? Oh, I'm at the bookstore. I want something else. I'm going to pick this up kind of one. But what I really enjoyed about this is it definitely plays with the idea that, when you have a cat sitting on your lap, you don't want to move. Except for this is in a fantasy world that has like those RPG kind of vibes to it. Our main guy, Red, he is a hero and he needs to go kick these goblins' butt, but he's like, this cat's on my lap. I can't move. So therefore, his party that he's in is all taken out by the goblins. And they have that happen quite a few times. There's a lot of fun shenanigans in this one. I feel like there's an introduction to a new character at the end that I really, really liked. I love how he has a surprising side to him that nobody saw coming. It was fun. It was just a fun read, and I wanted something to make me laugh. This was mission accomplished. I would definitely recommend it for, if you like seeing somebody who's a what is the right word? He is very stoic to a degree, but he is so soft for this cat and not wanting to disturb the cat or anything like that. It's just so cute. And he even sort of low-key convinces somebody else in his party to like the cat as well. I will say, I really did like the other two characters that are in his party. They're a lot of fun, especially this girl right here. She's a martial artist and she was super cool. I hope that she comes around to the cat side. I think this is only a 4-volume series, so I'm sort of tempted just to get the next volume. So maybe I could do a review at a later point because it's just a fun cat manga that I would recommend and super enjoyed. This was a big read for me, not just because it's a big manga, because it's an omnibus, but I did read volume 1 of Neighborhood Story and I see the hype for this manga. I loved this manga so much. It was absolutely wonderful. It was a delight. It was a joy to read. The reading experience was so immersive and enjoyable. I had a fantastic time and I'm like, I cannot wait for volume 2. I got to the end and I said, it's over. Felt very sad that it was over because I love the fashion element to this story, but I deeply love the characters and I feel bad because his name is not Monkey, but it's the only name I can remember for the guy. But he is so fun and I'm shipping these two so hard. It's a really beautiful, fun romance. I feel like it's really realistic that I really enjoyed it. It has a surprising, I'm trying to think if how to word this, it has a surprising deeper tone to the story. Like I thought it was just gonna be fun, fashion, and just really energetic, and it is those things. But our main girl, she learns a lot. You know, don't judge other people by their looks. Get to know them for them, not just because of what rumors are saying about them, how maybe guys treat a certain girl, because there was a girl, she's like, oh my gosh. So I really enjoyed that. Also, the friendship aspect was absolutely wonderful, especially when it plays a role in the romance, which I really love how these two are friends. You can tell that they obviously love each other, but that they haven't realized certain things. I'll say that. I'm trying to think of like, how do I keep that spoiler free? But especially for our main girl, I love how there's no pressure. Monkey is an amazing young man. I loved his character and the way that he grows. Just the way both of these characters grow was really amazing. I'm on this hype train. I definitely want to check out Paradise Kiss after I read this. And the art it's beautiful. I'm trying to find a really good page that's just really fun and the characters are really energetic. It was a great time. It was a great time. I think this was a wonderful introduction to this manga's work. I heard that there is another series we don't have in English. I'm really hoping Viz will give it to us because I've seen so much excitement and a lot of people picking up this series. I hope that that continues because all of the characters are great. This guy had some great character development as well. Again, going back to the friendship, I really loved how things not unfolded. Well, yes and no. I feel like it's weird to say that because there was a little bit of sadness in there, but how she has a great conversation with her friends and how she just treasures her friends. This is so good. This is so good. If you have not read any of this manga's work, or maybe you've read Nana or Paradise Kiss and you just want more for work, this series is it. It's very strong, very fun, and a wonderful, wonderful time. I loved it. I loved it. And talking about, I'm like, I want volume 2 ASAP. You guys know I have to read this one. The Remarried Empress Volume 5. Oh my gosh. Knowing where I am, reading the latest chapters, the Emperor is just, you're seeing what we saw at the beginning. Now you're seeing it in action in this volume. And it was so angering. It was so frustrating. And I'm like, he's just horrible. He's just horrible. Rashida's not quite as unhinged. Thankfully, she did not have a large amount of page time. And the funny thing was, even if she did have page time, I was so angry at the Emperor and his actions that I was like, oh, whatever. Rashida's on page. I don't really care. I'm still angry at the Emperor for all the dumb things that he's doing. Like, did you really not think, you know what? I'm going to divorce Navier. I'm going to marry my mistress. But you know what? In a year's time, I'm going to come back and be like, Navier, I want to marry you again. You really thought she'd be on this hype train? You thought she'd be okay with this? Like, you never thought, like, I should really talk to her and tell her my game plan. And then she's mad at you, obviously, rightfully so, but I'm like, did you not connect the dots? Where is the circuit missing here? So frustrating, but a man coming in clutch. I love seeing him again, Volume 5. It was wonderful. It was beautiful. Treat our Navier right as she deserves. Very excellent volume. All the drama, but oh so good. I'm here for it. I love it, and I really love this cover. I love how it connects like like this. It's just so good. I love this series so much. It was a favorite. Really, really enjoyed it, even though I was like livid at the Emperor's actions. I think in my review on Goodreads I said he was a lowlife. I'm like, oh, he's dirt. I hate this man. Anyway, moving on to better things, I read volume 4 of the Eccentric Doctor of the Moonflower Kingdom. This series continues to be so much fun. I love it so very much. I feel like a lot of people love the Apothecary Diaries. I feel like that overshadows this series so much, and it makes me sad because I deeply, deeply enjoy it. Kyoyo has found the buffet of broad, and her actions, her facial expressions are everything, and I love it so much. It makes me laugh. But while there was a lot of humor, she's finding that buffet of brawn. I mean, not quite to like her level that she wants, but you know, we're getting there. I thought it interesting that we had more of a focus on the medical side of things, and I have never thought, even with modern day stuff, how does one make a needle? Because she is given a suggestion by a really surprising character. Maybe you should make or start your own clinic and have your own practice. And she needs the medical equipment to do that. And so this volume focused on how do you make this medical equipment? They need to find somebody, and they found someone who was such a great character. I'm very excited to see more of them in the next volume. I feel like we had Kyoyo does not, I don't think she has any feelings for the prince, but the prince is a different story, and I love him. There was one moment, he was just so cute. He was just so cute. So I love this series. It's so much fun, and I highly recommend it. Please don't overlook it. I mean, I know the Apothecaries is great, but this one is great too. It continues to be so wonderful. Looking forward to the next volume. Talking about the wholesomeness, the ice guy and the cool girl, this volume was everything, but we almost had a confession, and then it got interrupted. I was so upset, like, how dare you? But it was so good. Like, the volume itself was really good. We meet the fox spirit, who I had not, I mean, we've seen her, but she has more of a spotlight in this volume. I really loved it. I am totally shipping these two. I'm like, please have your own romantic story as well, because it is so much fun. But I love these two. They are realizing they have feelings for one another. I feel like in the previous volume, the chapters really weren't connected. But in this volume, the chapters were a lot more connected. So if you prefer that, definitely keep reading. I think it's very, very wholesome. Like, it is up there with A Sign of Affection for just most wholesome josei that I've read, because my heart is so happy after I read, and I just felt like I was walking on clouds. I was just so happy. It was so good. Highly recommend. Cannot wait for volume 3. This series has definitely not disappointed, because I did a first impression, reviewed volume 1 when it was on Comic Key and didn't have a physical license announcement. And so now I am past what I've read, and it is everything. I love it so very much. Now, with all of the hype that I've had recently, I feel a little bit bad because the hype it's not going to be quite here for this manga, or manhwa, excuse me, and that is the Star Seekers Volume 1. I shared on Instagram this is going to be my last read of 2023, and I could not make it halfway through this. I don't think it's a bad story. I love, for an idol story, I feel like we typically do not see harmony between all of the, like, group members. At least from my reading experience, I feel like there's always, like, two different, like, it'll be the main hero, and then it's gonna be somebody else where they just have some beef going on, and it usually has something to do with the romance, but there's no romance in this manga. But there is beautiful brotherhood and harmony between these 5 guys, I believe it is. Yes, and I love that so much. That was my favorite part of what I'd read, but I could not seem to get invested emotionally into this volume. I think the magical aspect is very, very intriguing, but I don't know, I just couldn't seem to get roped in, and I don't know if I just need to come back, reread it again, because maybe it was just that day, because the art's great and I like the characters. I definitely don't think it's bad. I would say I would keep going just for the guys caring so deeply for one another and how they support one another when things happen and one of them gets their magical abilities. He's like, I'm not going to leave my friends, the other group members, behind, because I want us all to thrive and succeed together. And I was just like, dude, you're amazing. You're amazing. And all of them are like that. They're not like, I'm going to choose success over being with the group, because if that person had gone solo, yeah, they would have done really well, because in this story world, singers and idols who have magical abilities are much more loved by society. They're considered to be better and have better performances. So people really want to see those, like, singers that have these powers. But these guys do not have any powers in the beginning until things start happening and unfolding. I thought this one dude was a bad guy, and it felt bad because he wasn't, but I'm like, you look pretty shady, dude, and the way that you're helping these guys to unlock their powers, pretty shady if you ask me. So flipping through the end, I still don't feel a huge investment to want to keep reading. I'm wondering if it's just maybe the timing. I definitely don't think it's a bad story. I already gushed about what I enjoyed from what I did read. We'll just see. I think I would still recommend this if you're looking for an idol story that has magic and a touch of fantasy and very strong friendship, very overwhelmingly strong friendship, because it definitely checks all those boxes very strongly. So since I didn't love the Star Seekers, I was like, I can't end 2023 on that note. So even though it was like 10 o'clock, I'm like, you know what, we're gonna read one more, and I decided to read Tear Moon Empire Volume 3. This was the perfect way to close out the 2023 year. I loved this volume. I love Tear Moon Empire. My husband loved the anime. I've been reading the manga because I didn't want to read ahead and get spoilers from the anime. I did watch different parts, especially when Abel was on page, or Abel was on screen. Not gonna deny that because I love Abel. And we got Abel in this volume. This volume was just so much fun. It was another gem, joy, delight to read this. I laughed so incredibly much. I love how we're getting new characters. It was very fun seeing Mia interact with them and how misunderstandings are just everywhere where there's a misunderstanding and people just, they're like, oh, she's definitely a saint. Like, if you guys only knew that Mia is just looking out for herself, it would change your whole view of her. But that's part of the whole story. Mia is a great character and I love seeing the character growth in her. There was a moment that definitely made me a little bit emotional, very heartfelt and touching scene, cheering for her and Abel, and shout out to the night that saved the guys' stomachs because Mia can't cook, but she's trying to cook for Abel, and poor Abel, he would have been done in. So please check out this series, either the manga or the anime or the light novels, which I haven't read. I have done, I think it was a review of volumes 1 and 2 on this channel if you're curious about my thoughts on it. It's just so much fun, and I loved ending 2023 when it came to my reading with this volume. So as you can see, I read a lot of different things. Some things I super duper loved, other things that were like, ah, it's okay, and other things I was like, I don't recommend this at all. But I hope that there was something that I talked about, gushed about, that you are interested in and would like to check out. I would love to know what you read last month and how your 2023 reading was. I will have a stats video coming out in 2 weeks, so stay tuned for that. And again, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and thank you so much for watching. Bye!